to pay their respects to Madeleine Albright. Joe Biden, who is expected to speak any minute now, the president who will be speaking. Another former president will be speaking. That will be Bill Clinton. As you mentioned, he's the one who picked Madeleine Albright to be his Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton is also going to be speaking during the service, and they're present there with many current and former officials from the United States. You mentioned the former president, Barack Obama, and his wife, but there are also current officials like Tony Blinken, the current Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, also set to attend. There are plenty of officials from the State Department, from her career in the diplomatic service for the United States. Actually, the pallbearers who carried the casket into this cathedral were members of her security detail during her time as Secretary of State. It was a nod to her career. There are also foreign dignitaries who came, ministers, presidents of different countries, people who worked with Madeleine Albright throughout her decades of service for the State Department of the United States. So a lot of people here to pay a tribute to this trailblazer. You said it, she was the first female to be picked as Secretary of State. And yes, at the time, it was the highest rank for a woman in the U.S. administration. And so this ceremony is expected to go on for about 2 hours, the final tributes to Madeleine Albright.
Yeah, Kethevane, Madeleine Albright was, after all, the first U.S. official to meet President Putin back in 2000, so 22 years ago. And in fact, the last op-ed she wrote was about Russia, just before the invasion of Ukraine, just before she died. What did she say?
Well, first, she remembered that first meeting with Vladimir Putin back in 2000 when he was just fresh as an acting president of Russia. And she wrote about her thoughts at the time. And she said that at the time she felt that Putin was embarrassed by what happened to his country and determined to restore its greatness. And she went on in that op-ed, which was her last before her death, to talk about what it would mean for Vladimir Putin to actually invade Ukraine. It was just a few days before the invasion actually happened that this op-ed came out. And she said that if he were to invade at the time, she said it would be a historic mistake. And I'm going to read you one line from that op-ed. She said, "Instead of paving Russia's path to greatness, invading Ukraine would ensure that Mr. Putin's infamy by leaving his country diplomatically isolated, economically crippled, and strategically vulnerable in the face of a stronger, more united Western alliance," something that a lot of experts and leaders around the world are talking about right now. And she also said what is sure to be a bloody and catastrophic war will drain Russian resources and cost Russian lives. A lot of people here are believing that she really predicted a lot of what has been happening right now to Russia following this invasion of Ukraine. And it has to be said that Madeleine Albright, during her time as Secretary of State, was a strong believer and supporter of NATO expansion. She was also a believer of the intervention and the help of the United States. She was one to push for the U.S. and the Western alliance to intervene in the Balkan war. And she was also, throughout her career and even after she was out of the State Department, a strong believer of working to strengthen democratic values across the world by working with that Western alliance of democracy, something that we are expecting President Biden to underline when he speaks during the service.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that update, Kethevane Gorjestani there.